Good day. Thank you for joining us. Today we're discussing joint products and byproducts. Now, we've discussed extensively how costs are being allocated. So you are very familiar with materials, with direct labor, and you're also familiar with the category called overheads. Now, overheads also always an issue, and can be especially when you have a joint product. In other words, you have costs that come in for that product, and then you have two products that actually end up being the output of the specific process. If we go to our slides, joint cost terms and definitions. Joint cost of a single production process that yields multiple products simultaneously. A split-off point, the place in a joint production process where two or more products become separately identifiable. And separable costs, all costs incurred beyond the split-off point that are assignable to each of the now identifiable specific products. Categories of joint process outputs. Outputs with a positive sales value, outputs with zero sales value. It could be either of those. A product, any output with a positive sales value, or an output that enables a firm to avoid incurring costs. Value can be high or low, or it can just be generating income. Main product, output of a joint production process that yields one product with a high sales value compared to the sales value of the other outputs. Joint products, outputs of a joint production process that yields two or more products with a high sales value compared to the sales value of any other output. So it all goes about materiality. Byproducts, outputs of a joint production process that have low sales values compared to the sales values of the other outputs. So it all goes about the relationship from one to the other to the total. Examples. Now you're thinking, what on earth is she talking about? When you process cocoa beans, what do you get? You get cocoa butter, cocoa powder, cocoa drink mix, and tanning cream. So those are all products created out of the same process. Lamb, you have lamb cuts, tripe, hides, bones, and you have fat. When we go down to coal, you have coke, gas, benzol, tar, and ammonia. Go to salt, you've got hydrogen, chlorine, caustic soda. So all of these products are actually created in the same process. So there's some costs related to them that are joint. It's actually expended through the process while you are producing all of these products. So how on earth are we going to determine how much of the cost should go to crude oil and how much should go to natural gas? So this is exactly what this concept is about. How are we going to allocate those costs? Now, steam is also an output in a lot of production processes, but it has a zero sales value. In the production process, we can have two big products as well as a byproduct, all determined by the size in reality to one another. If you look at the total, how much of it is actually byproduct, how much is joint product 1 and joint product 2. So you need to see the bigger picture. Why do we allocate? It's required in IFRS and for taxation purposes. And what about our inventory? Cost values may be used for evaluation purposes. Cost-based contracting. What if you actually appoint contractors? It's based on their cost. Insurance settlements want you to be 100% sure how much it actually cost you. Required by regulators. Litigation, if you get involved in a lawsuit. Now, methods. Market-based, allocate using market-derived data, dollars. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? Now, when I ask a class this, there's a lot of logic ways to do it. The first one they come up with is usually how much the one weighs to the other, how big the one is to the other. Okay, so that is physical measurements, and that's actually one of the methods that we do use. So never forget your logic hat at home, because with management accounting, a lot of the things we do is very logic. Sales value at split-off point. So what can you sell the products for if you can sell them at the split-off point? Net realizable value, we'll speak a little bit more about that. And constant gross margin percentage, NRV. So what are we actually looking at in this slide? We are looking at how we are going to split the cake, if we look down to this diagram, now I've just drawn this quickly, we are splitting the cake in different ways. So in this case, I'm looking at the sales value. So the total sales value could be 5 million, of which 40% is cream and 60% is the liquid. So I'll be splitting the cost in a similar fashion towards them as what their sales value is. And that would be one of the bases. So in all of these, when we look back to the slides, we are looking at how we are splitting the cake. So is the cake the sales values, or is the cake the net realizable values, or is it constant gross margin percentage? So these are different cakes that I can split, and I can choose which one I use depending on the kind of industry I'm in and what is reasonable to use. And then lastly, the physical measures is the one that everyone comes up with. Allocate using tangible attributes such as the pounds, gallons, how many barrels when we're speaking about wine, very relevant to Stellenbosch. We will probably be measuring them in barrels. Sales value at split off method. So now going through the methods one by one, uses the sales value of the entire production of the accounting period to calculate the allocation percentage. Ignores inventories, okay, so we don't have beginning or ending inventory. Now we've got joint costs of 400,000, that's our example. Beginning inventory, nothing, production, sales, ending inventory, and then selling price per gallon. So this is typical information you'll get either out of the system or in real life. Our joint costs is costing 110,000 gallons of raw milk and processing to split off points. So out of these gallons, we get cream and we get liquid skim. So these two are out of the same process, and it costs us 400,000. How much must go to cream and how much must go to liquid skim? Now we're using the first